in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. This is Barb Bruno, and I'm so glad to have this opportunity to present a program to all of you today. I was probably just as disappointed as you were when the event was canceled in Hilton Head. Those darn hurricanes have certainly messed with my travel schedule this year. But I didn't want to wait until next year because from the emails I was getting from many of you, I know you were looking forward to the training. And so I called Mary and offered to do this webinar because I think this is a critical time. Your conference was planned at the best time of the year because right now we're in the last quarter of 2018, and that really does impact, 2017 rather, that really does impact 2018. We're only in October, but what you do this quarter and what your people do this quarter really either sets you up for a record 2018 or you go into 2018 more tentative. And that was the reason that when I offered to do the webinar and Mary accepted, I was thrilled. And so I want to give you trends in 2018. I'm going to share quite a bit of information with all of you. Hopefully you have the handout to this session. I will give Mary the handout with answers when we're done. So I know the handout that you have does not have answers on it. Don't worry about filling in the blanks. I would much rather have you just listening to me. I'm also going to open the lines for questions and answers because when you do a webinar, you and I are not in the same room. We don't have a chance to talk. And I want to make sure that if any of you have any questions that I can answer to help you, I want to be able to do that during this call as well. And just to give some of you a little bit of an overview, I'm you. I own a business. I run a staffing firm. I do contract placement and direct. I've been in the business more than 30 years. And the only reason I train, there's one reason, and that's so you can make more money. I train so that people can be more successful. And everything I'm going to tell you today, we've tried in my own organization. My training clients have tried these methods and they work. And that's why I'm very comfortable presenting this program to you today. But let's start out with the trends in 2018 because that's where we really do have to start because you have to stay ahead of trends. And the trends are there's going to be a continued shortage of top talent. And by the way, every time your recruiters are saying it's so hard to find top talent, or you find yourself saying it's so hard to find good candidates, I want you to get down on your knees every night and thank God, because that's when we make the most money. When it's a candidate-driven marketplace, that's where we get the highest fees, the greatest margins, and we have the most business. People need us because they can't find talent. So every time you're upset that it's so hard to find candidates, realize that's good for us. That's very good for our profession. Job satisfaction is at historic lows. It has been at historic lows for 2 years now. Job satisfaction in the United States and Canada stands at 18%, which means that 82% of people working are not happy. So what that means for us as recruiters is 8 out of 10 people out there that are working would rather be doing something else, and we can help them do that. So these two, when you think about where are the candidates that you can place in jobs, they're working someplace, but they're just not happy. Baby boomers are continuing to retire, and they're retiring one every 6 seconds. And by the year 2020, and think about this, that's less than 3 years away. By the year 2020, baby boomers will only represent 20% of the workforce. They have dominated the workforce for decades. And now by the year 2020, they will represent only 20% of the workforce. Millennials are going to continue as the largest population in the workforce. And by the way, that's great for our business. I was at a conference recently, and it was a conference by ERE, and it was all talent acquisition professionals and hiring authorities. I was the only one from our profession. And so that all of you understand this, I'm speaking 50% to us, to the staffing and recruiting profession, and I'm doing the other 50% of my speaking to the people that hire from us and to talent acquisition professionals. And I'm doing a lot of training for LinkedIn because people have to understand how to work with us. In fact, I just had LinkedIn Learning release a course this morning I'm very excited about, and it's how to work with recruiters because people don't understand what we do. But what I loved at this ERE conference was they announced that millennials will have 14 jobs and 3 career changes before they're 40 years old. So when you stop and think that they're going to graduate when they're 22, in less than 18 years, they're going to have 14 jobs and they're going to have 3 career changes. And when they announced this, the whole audience kind of went, oh, like they were in shock and they were so upset by it. And I'm in the back of the room trying not to show my excitement because this is very good for you and me. Very good for you and me because the workforce is going to be very mobile, which is very good for our profession. Global competition for talent is going to continue to increase. It's a global job market now. And it's amazing how many people, I'm amazed at how many people are working in Dubai because of the amount of money that's being paid to them. But, you know, the competition for talent is not only in our country right now, it's worldwide. There is a new business model, and the new business model is core employees surrounded by temps or contractors. When I first went into this business, the temporary business was not as near as prevalent as it is now, and people didn't understand the temporary business, the staffing business, or, you know, contractors. And now the new business model, and it's a conscious decision by companies, and this is so good for all of you, is that companies are realizing they have to have their core employees, which are the people that are working in full-time jobs, but in order to retain them, they've got to surround them with a group of contractors or temporary workers. And so the new business model are those core employees surrounded by the flexible workers, you know, which again increases needs for your services. Another statistic that I wanted all of you to understand and know is by the year 2020, for the first time in history, over 50% of the workforce is going to be flexible. They're going to be independent contractors, people that are working temp, people that are working long-term contractors. And by the way, the IRS is really clamping down on independent contractors. So many companies that are now hiring independent contractors are not going to be able to hire them as independent contractors because they don't qualify by the credentials listed on irs.gov. And so they're going to be calling us to put them on our payrolls because they don't want to employ them. But, you know, again, as these audits are coming out, they're going to realize they can't have all these independent contractors. Again, great news for us. And technology is going to continue to impact our profession. I'm amazed at how different our profession is today than it was 5 years ago. And I've been in this profession more than 30 years. I've seen many changes, but I continue to change, and you have to continue to change. You have to continue to embrace technology because technology can make us more efficient. Now, you can't let it shut down your production. If people are doing sourcing and if they're on LinkedIn all day long or answering emails the minute they come in, unless you're doing high volume, fast-paced temporary business, you shouldn't be answering your emails the minute they pop up because most emails are other people's priorities, not yours. So you have to learn to use technology to your advantage. Now, I want to ask you a few questions because I don't know all of you that are on the line, and we have, you know, many people on this phone call, which makes me very happy that I decided to do this. But there's questions that only you can answer. You know, and my question to you right up front is, are you willing to pay the price to attain a higher level of success? I don't meet that many people when I'm out speaking that say, gee, I'm really satisfied where I'm at. I don't want to make more money. But if you really want to attain a higher level of success, there's a price to pay. You can't keep doing things the same way and expect different results. So if you answered yes, if you're willing to pay the price, you need to identify why you're willing to pay the price. Because you're not going to change the way you work your desk or the way you run your company because your owner wants to have a record year. It's interesting, and I'm going to share a story with you. I used to get up in front of my group right after Thanksgiving every year because I always started out at the beginning of December. We're going to have a record year in 2018. And I would roll out new contests and I'd roll out new bonuses and I'd be all excited. And I had a very large team at one point in Chicago. I had over 80 recruiters. And I remember one year I was standing up there and I was all excited because I had some great plans for the people that worked for me. And after I was announcing this record year we were having, I saw some eyes rolling. And I'm like, why are eyes rolling? Like I'm, you know, rolling out all these wonderful things. Why is it not motivating others? And then I had a rude awakening and I really had to understand that I can't motivate somebody. No one can motivate you to do more. Your owner can't motivate you. Your manager can't motivate you. I was on a coaching call yesterday, Monday afternoon, and I had a recruiter on our coaching call saying my owner is not motivating me. And I said, well, your owner can't motivate you. You've got to motivate yourself. Motivation is something that comes from within. You can and you will produce more for your own reasons. You know, it's interesting because every time someone that's worked for me has had some outstanding goals, it's interesting how much better they've done. If someone wants to buy a house, if someone wants to send their kids to top colleges, if somebody wants to do something well above what they normally do, they will produce more for their own reasons. And so the only way you can determine what that is to write down 10 non-negotiable goals. And this is homework that I want to give you all right now. I want you all to do this before next Monday, because if you don't do it by next Monday, you're not going to do it. Okay? So you got to realize that you've got to understand your why. Why are you going to plan your day out when you don't plan your day out right now? Why are you going to be more diligent, more tenacious? It's only if you want to accomplish something. So I want you all to write down 10 non-negotiable goals. And these are in all areas of your life. This could be personal, financial, philanthropic, spiritual, whatever is important to you. I want you to write down 10 non-negotiable goals. And now I don't want you to stop there, because how many of you wrote down goals for 2017 and they're sitting in your desk drawer somewhere? And so you take them out at the end of this year and you change the date from 2017 to 2018. And then all of a sudden, you're like, well, I thought my goals for this year. I want this call to be life-changing for all of you. You took your time to show up today. And so this is the one thing I'm telling you that can have the biggest impact if you decide to implement any of the ideas. I'm going to give you 15 ideas today, and any one of them can make you a ton of money, but you're not going to do them unless you do this first. So write down 10 non-negotiable goals in all areas of your life. For years, all my goals were financial and work. I was a single mom for 15 years. I was just trying to take care of my kids. And then I had a coach tell me 20 years ago, Barb, it's got to be in all areas of your life that are important, philanthropic, spiritual, whatever, health. But in order to make this happen, you've got to follow those goals with 5 action items. The action items are the steps you're going to take to make the goal happen, and then you date them. By the end of November, I'm going to do this. By the end of January, I'm going to do this. And when you do the 5 action items, you've attained the goal. This is the only way you're going to attain all 10 goals next year. And you post this where you can see it as you work. If you're in outside sales, it's on the visor of your car. It's on the mirror where you get ready in the morning. It's right next to your phone when you're working. And if you want to go one step further, get pictures of what you want to achieve. You want a new car, go drive it, get a picture, and have it by your phone. You want a new home. You want to send your kids to the greatest college. You want a retirement fund, a second home, a boat. Get a picture and put it there, because you will do more for your own reasons, not because I want you to do. Me getting up in front of my group every year and making their eyes roll, my people said to me, they wanted to know what I was going to do to them. They weren't hearing what I was going to do for them. They were happy. They were all making a lot of money. And I wanted them to do more. They didn't want to do more. And sometimes, we try to motivate people. Every one of you could produce more. Every one of your businesses could be more successful. But there is a price to pay. And are you willing to do that? Is there something you want to bring in your life that's going to motivate you to do that? You've also got to determine your best business. How many assignments and orders did you write in the first 3 quarters of 2017 that were never filled and were a big fat waste of your time? How many should have never been written? I want you to review the business you filled. I want you to conduct revenue modeling to determine your best business. And this is how you determine revenue modeling. You go back 2 years and you review where you've made fills and placements. And 85% of your marketing recruiting efforts should be focused in those areas. Chances are you're making most of your placements in probably somewhere around 6 titles, and yet you could be working on 25 different titles. You can't pipeline in advance when you don't know, what your best business is. And right now, it's not only finding the best talent, it's finding the best talent faster than your competition. Then I want you to review where you've got your highest profit margins, both in temp and direct. And make a list of 50 companies you plan to target in 2018. And share this information with your recruiting team. If you're in sales, share who you're targeting, because they can provide you with inside information from past employees. If they interview somebody at a company you're targeting, they can give you inside information through the eyes of a past employee that you can't get anyplace else. I also want you to hold yourself accountable weekly. And this is something your whole office should do. Everybody that works in your office should do this, is conduct a weekly review every Friday afternoon just to hold yourself accountable. And this review is going to help assess your progress. If you do this every Friday, I guarantee you, you might have a bad week. You might have a bad 2 weeks. You'll never have a bad month. You'll never have a bad quarter, because you're reviewing what you're doing. Every Friday, put 30 minutes on your calendar for review and block it off on your calendar. Don't take calls. Don't do anything. And ask yourself 3 questions. What am I doing that's resulting in sales? What am I doing that's successful? Because you want to do more of those efforts the following week. Question number 2, what are you doing that's a waste of your time? And you commit to stop doing those things now. We place only 5% of the people we attract. Do you know you're spending 90 minutes a day talking to candidates you're never going to place in jobs? It's the biggest time waster you have. You've got to provide them with resources and focus on the 5% you're going to place. And then third, what new idea are you implementing? And if you, after this, I'm going to give you 15 different strategies. I want you to implement one new idea every 21 days. Imagine what would happen if you implemented one idea every 21 days until the next TempNet conference. I would love to meet you at the next TempNet conference, which is next September in Philadelphia. I would love to have some of you come up to me and say, you know what, Barb, I implemented a new idea every month since you did that conference, and these are the results I got. And so I want you to implement one new idea every month, starting with this month, starting with the month of October. Implement one new idea every month until the conference and watch what happens. And the reason I'm telling you one a month, one every 21 days, is because it takes 21 days to form a new habit. It takes 21 days to replace an old habit with a new habit. Imagine the impact on TempNet. Imagine the record year all of you would have if all of you decided to do this. Now I want to get into the strategies. I'm going to share 15 strategies. And what I want you to do is when something resonates with you, when all of a sudden you find yourself going, ooh, I'm not doing that, that's the strategy you should implement first. So when we're done, I don't want you to try to implement 15 strategies. You'll implement none. I want you to pick one and do one a month, one every 21 days until we meet at the next TempNet conference next September. So number 1, I want you to announce your goal to the entire office of what you're going to do in 2018. Figure out your production goal for the last quarter of this year and all of 2018, and post your goals where everyone can see them, and never erase a goal. If you don't attain a goal that you set for October, you do not erase it. You take the difference between what you said you were going to do and what you did, you divide it by 2, and you add it to your goal for November and December. In 2018, you never erase a goal. If you don't hit your goal in January, you take the difference, you divide it by 11, and you add it to the remaining 11 months of the year. Number 2, you commit to planning. If there's one common denominator with every big biller I've ever trained, okay, it's that they're all planners, and you've got to commit to planning before you leave the office. You've got to, if you're not a planner right now, don't put down your goal, I'm going to plan 100% of my calls, because you can't do it. It's too big of a lift. So what I want you to do is, I want you to commit to at least writing down 6 priorities closest to the money that you're going to do the following day and 10 calls. So if you want planning to be your idea, then write down, okay, 6 things that I'm going to do tomorrow that are closest to the money and 10 outgoing calls. And then every month add on 10 outgoing calls until you're planning all your outgoing calls. You can't allow the incoming calls to control your destiny. It's your planned outgoing calls. If you arrive at work and you don't know who you're going to call, you're wiping out at least 60 minutes in the morning trying to get organized. Sourcing and research and planning is not something you do during the day unless you're a sourcer or a researcher and you're not in sales. I want you to review your send out to fill replacement ratio for the first 9 months of this year. And if I could give you one tip, if you want to make more money in the last quarter than you've ever made before, increase the number of send outs. My definition of a send out is candidate in front of client first interview. It could be phone, it could be Skype, it could be face-to-face. You know, whatever you're doing, increase the number of first interviews. If you're doing light industrial temp or you're doing call center where the person just shows up to work, you know, how many people are there after 20 days? You know, how many people do you send out that stick? And if somebody tells me that they want 6 people and I'm doing light industrial temp or call center, I'll always send whoever I have. If I have 7 or 8, I'm going to send them and they will get hired because they're not only using you when they're doing high volume, low margin temp. They're using several resources. You want to make more money? Increase the number of first interviews you book every single month. Whatever you did in September, book 1 or 2 more send outs this month and keep increasing the number of first interviews you book, and you will continually be more successful. By the way, that's the only number as an owner that I monitor for my entire team. When I had multiple offices, all they did was call in every day to me the number of send outs, the number of first interviews being booked. I can predict somebody's production and their success by their send outs. And you've got to know what your send out to fill or send out to placement ratio is. I just did a conference for a group that does accounting and finance, and their average send out to placement ratio is 6 to 1, and they average 10 send outs a month, which means, and they're doing direct, which means they're only going to make 1 placement a month. If they could just send out 2 more people, they can make 2 placements a month and double their sales. You've got to know what your number is to know exactly what you have to do. You've got to determine what you're going to do for yourself every month if you attain the goals you set. Just paying bills is not enough. How do you reward yourself? And what is the consequence if you don't hit your goal? The reward could be that ladies, you get a massage, or guys, you go to a game, or whatever. But what is the consequence? My consequence when I had my office in Chicago would be I would not eat Chinese food because I love Chinese food. And I'm telling you, my group would bring it in 10 times that month because they knew I couldn't eat it. Just something fun, something that you're doing at the office that's a consequence if you don't hit your goal. Make it fun. I don't think we're having enough fun. I think that we're so overwhelmed by the job order flow because we're writing all kinds of crazy, ridiculous orders and assignments we shouldn't be writing. We're taking purple squirrels. We're not focused. And we're just, we're not filling near enough of the business we're writing because we're not focused enough. If you follow the initial goals I gave you here, it's going to be more fun, and you're going to hit your goals. By the way, that Friday review when you're holding yourself accountable, that also helps you hit your goals. Goals are not something that somebody else should set for you. It's what you've set because this is what you want to do for yourself and the people you love. When you're setting those 10 non-negotiable goals, a lot of them could be about the people you love. My kids were always my motivator. Number 5, I want you to target 85% of your marketing efforts and your recruiting efforts at your best business. Whatever that business is that you fill, you and I both know what assignments you fill or what jobs you fill when they come in. You know what they are, and yet you're writing all kinds of other crazy things. 85% of your sales efforts should be toward that best business. Bring in the business that you know your recruiters can fill. You want to work hot assignments or orders. Criteria to determine which orders are your hottest in my mind is you got interviewing times, you got a target date to fill, everybody signed off on the order, and you know what problem exists as a result of the job being open. Now, if you're doing high volume, fast-paced temp, if you're doing light industrial, call center, then you don't have time to get some of this done. But if you're doing anything other than that, this is how you determine what your hot business is. It's interesting because when we ask for a target date to fill, we at a company give us a target date to fill at the beginning of the next month. And when we asked for interviewing times, they gave us an interviewing time. The first one was the 10th of the following month because no one was available. And when I brought that to their attention, they go, my God, we got to change the target date to fill. Timing is everything in what you and I do. We've got to know what problem exists and send a copy of your assignment, your contract, or your order to everybody in the interviewing process. 50% of the time, our clients make major changes. And so you've got to know, timing and exactly, when they're going to fill the openings and when they're going to interview your people. Unless you're doing high volume, fast pace, I want you to hold incoming calls and emails between the hours of 9 and 11:30. And during that time, I want you to complete 65% of your outgoing calls by noon. Most emails are other people's priorities. We tell our clients, we are networking every day till noon. We are out there trying to get talent to fill your openings. If you need to talk to us for any reason, call us because we're not answering emails. We're not focused on that. But if you call and tell them to interrupt me no matter what I'm doing, I'll take your call. That's what you tell your clients. You tell the candidates during the hours between 9 and noon, I am trying to find you a job. And so you want to hold incoming calls because so often those incoming calls are from candidates that you're never going to place in a job and they're wasting your time. You've got to get most of your planned outgoing calls. And you know what? You can't do this. You can't complete 65% of your outgoing calls if you don't have them planned. And so this forces the planning function as well. Number 8, talk to 20 new people a day. You can't fail at this job if you talk to 20 new people a day. Just as kind of a game, write down, keep a stick total tomorrow on how many new people you talk to. Because when you saw this, you probably thought, I talk to more than 20 new people a day. No, you don't. This is a combination of recruiting presentations, marketing presentations, reference checks, marketing candidates, incoming calls, But the problem is when you really start thinking about this, I'm not talking voicemail, I'm talking to a person, telling them how you can benefit them. We talk to the same people, same clients, the same candidates all day long. We've got to start reaching out to 20 new people a day. You can't fail if you do this. Number 9, only take incoming candidate calls between 4 and 5. Share a list of expectations. Let your candidates know what they can expect from you and what you need from them to find them a job. Okay, but let them know that you take their calls between 4 and 5 because all day long what you're trying to do is find them a job. You're marketing their services. Don't waste time on the 95% of the candidates you won't place in jobs. You've got to provide them with resources so you can focus on the 5% you're going to place. This has bothered me my entire career. I want to help everybody. I went into this profession thinking that we help people who are not working. And I almost lost my business. I was not an instant success at this. I loved listening to all the speakers who were $1 million producers their first year. I was a nightmare because they didn't understand that there's a process and things we can do. But a couple years ago, I developed a career portal. I call it Happy Candidates. And I send all the candidates I'm not going to place to the career portal, and it helps them find a job. And they stop calling me, but they still give me references. They still talk great about me because I gave them this reference. Now, I also private labeled this for employment firms. So if you don't have a resource for 95% of the candidates you're not going to place, if you want to put 90 minutes back in your day, look at the Happy Candidates career portal. If you want information, I can send that to you. This is something that I did for my own firm. And then after everybody kept begging me to private label it, I finally figured out how to do it. So if you want a resource for the candidates you're not going to place, please call my office or go to happycandidates.com. Number 10, initiate a weekly matching meeting with your coworkers. Have everybody bring in their top candidates and go to every job, every assignment that was written this past week, and you're going to uncover matches or targets for marketing calls. Because when you're bringing your best candidates and you're bringing your best business, your salespeople should have the resumes on your best candidates when they're out there making sales calls. You know, sales and recruiting, you're on the same team. And too often, you know, the salespeople are bringing in business, the recruiters roll their eyes and go, what are we supposed to do with that? And yet you're not giving them leads. You're not giving them some of your best candidates. You're not telling them the companies that your candidates want to work for. Anybody in recruiting should be asking every candidate, where do you want to work and why? And where would you never work and why? Because where they want to work and why are leads for your marketing team, and where they would never work and why are leads for your recruiting team. And so, you know, that you definitely want them to do that because, you know, that helps both of you. That helps both of you with leads. So a weekly matching meeting will end up with you making more money. Number 11, you've got to monitor your numbers. You've got to know what you need to do on a daily basis to have consistent production. Do you ever feel like you're on a roller coaster in this business? I always say we either love our job or we can't stand our job. We never just like it. We either love it or we hate it, depending on what kind of month we're having, right? You know, sometimes we don't want to pick up the phone. You know, sometimes we just are like, oh my gosh, I can't take another rejection. But if you know your numbers, you know what results you need every day. If you know what results you need every day, you eliminate slumps once and for all. Let me give you an example. If I know that I've got to book 5 sendouts in a week to make a fill, and I want to have a fill every week, I'm just using these because they're easy numbers. So I want to fill every single week. I want to put 52 people in jobs this year. That's my goal. So I know that to book a send out, okay, to get somebody on a first interview, I have to interview 3 people a day. Because if I interview 3, one of them is going to end up in a send out because those are my numbers. I've tracked my stats and those are my numbers. So what that tells me is I have to book 5 interviews a day. And the reason I'm going to book 5 is because I have to do 3. And you and I both know someone's not going to show up. You know, something's going to happen. And I have to do 3 interviews a day. Now, if I only do 2, if I did 2 on Monday, I've got to do 4 today. Because at the end of the week, I've got to do 15 interviews because I have to book 5 sendouts. And if you hold yourself to the results numbers, it's not about the number of calls you make. It's about the results you need to hit the goals you've set. And so you've got to monitor, you know, sendouts, interviews, presentations on existing orders, you know, job orders written, contracts written, you know, temporary assignments written. You've got to know the results numbers and you've got to know your individual stats. Do you know we're the only profession that doesn't know our numbers? Anybody else in sales does. Your insurance person knows. Car salespeople know. Anybody in sales, they know their numbers. I get in front of an audience of recruiters and I go, what is your send out to placement ratio? They look at me like I'm, you know, from a foreign country. You know, what is your interview to send out? What is your job order to fill? How long does it take you? You've got to know those things. You're in sales. Your title might be account executive or recruiter or coordinator or owner manager. When we're in staffing and recruiting, we're salespeople. And if you don't like that title, sales, you shouldn't be in this profession, because it is a phenomenal profession. We change people's lives every single day. What a wonderful profession. How many people can say that they do that for a living? When I'm on airplanes, people always ask me, what do you do? I said, I change people's lives for the better. And they go, are you a psychologist? I go, no. They go, are you a teacher? I go, no. And when I think about it, we're all that, aren't we? We're the psychologist, we're the babysitter, we're the teacher. But unless you know your numbers, you're never going to have consistent production, ever. And the one number I want you all to figure out after this call is your send out to fill, or your send out to placement. How many people do you get on first interviews before someone's hired? You have to know that number. And you've got to keep increasing the number of people you get on first interviews, and you'll make more money. I mean, that sounds simplistic, and it's not easy to get send outs, because to get a first interview, you got to have a viable candidate and a viable client. But, when you know that, you're going to consistently hit your goals. Number 12, you've got to improve how you follow up and nurture your candidates and clients. We do a great job when we want their business. We do a great job when we're placing them in a job. And we do a terrible job of nurturing people after we place them, or nurturing our clients. The reason your clients leave you is they don't think you care about them anymore. You're out there working, trying to get somebody else, or you take their relationship for granted. And just like that plant you see on this picture, your relationships are either growing or dying. If that plant's not watered, it will die. It's the same thing with your candidates and clients. And how many of your temporaries or contractors come back to you? You should be their lifetime career agent. And how many of them do 1 or 2 assignments and then go work for someone else? It's because they don't think you care. They know you're making money for every hour they're working. And I've got to know that I'm more than just a paycheck to you. And most candidates, I do a job, because I've got that career portal. Part of the Happy Candidates career portal is I do a call. They don't know who I am, because the career portals are private labeled. It looks like your company created it for them. My name is nowhere. So it looks like your company created this resource, and I do a call for them once a week. And I just get on the phone and go, hi, welcome to today's job seeker call. And I train them for 20 minutes, and then I take their questions. And they complain about staffing and recruiting firms all the time because they don't know who I am. And so I try to educate them on how to work with us, and that we can't place everybody. But they're so confused. They're so confused. And they're really irritated when they spend their time and we do nothing for them. Do you know 100% of the people that come to you expect you to find them a job, and you're disappointing 95% of them? That's why even if you don't use my resource, the candidate experience with social media is getting more important than ever, because one candidate blasting you on social media can cost you a ton of referrals. You have got to get better up at following and nurturing. For those of you that are married, let me give you an example. You can never marry a candidate or a client. You always have to date them. Flowers, candy, making them feel important. You can never just take them for granted. They've always got to feel like your top priority. Number 13, eliminate negative people in your life. The noise can limit your success. And if you've got a person that walks in the office and sucks the oxygen out of the room, then you've got to let that person know that that's not acceptable behavior. It's interesting, because at a conference last year, I had a recruiter get up and say, do you know what my problem is? It's my coworkers. They talk to me all day long. They constantly disturb me. They're constantly complaining. They drive me nuts. And what I said to this recruiter in front of 500 people is, if you were on your phone, they couldn't talk to you. Everybody's always going to talk to the person who's not busy. You've got to be on that phone. And by the way, I am very high tech. I'm a baby boomer, but I embrace technology. And I believe in email and texting, and I believe in every type of communication possible. But we're in a relationship building business. And I think every third contact has to be a phone conversation, because I learned so much about people. And if I want to be a lifetime agent to my candidate, they've got to know I care. I've got to get to know them. If I want to be a lifetime resource to my clients, I've got to know personal things about them. I'm not going to learn those things by only email. But the negative people in your life, you have got to eliminate them, because noise will limit your success. And also consider changing the 5 people you hang around with most. If you really are serious about a record 2018, I want you to think about the 5 people you hang around with most. Not your family. Because when somebody said this to me, I thought it was so rude. I'm like, I can't believe you're telling me not to hang around with my family and my friends, because I have tons of friends and I have a very big family. So what do you mean change the 5 people I hang around? They go, no, Barb, your friends. And what they made me answer, they said, Barb, when you think about your friends, are they more successful than you or less successful than you? Do you make more money than them or less money than them? Are you the teacher or the student? And he said, because you want to hang around with people that are more successful than you, that are making more money than you, that can teach you things. And normally you can take your closest friends, and if you divided it, the 5, take your income and add up the income and divide it by 5, you're pretty much there. And if you really want to elevate yourself, you've got to hang around with people that are more successful. And I'm not saying in our profession, the most successful banker, the most successful insurance person, the most successful real estate person. You can learn from anybody out there in sales that is more successful than you. And you've got to start reaching out, and you've got to start walking away from negativity. And by the way, I have to say to all of you, I have never seen so much negativity in my life in this amazing country that we live in. We change people's lives on a daily basis, but we have got a bunch of whining, complaining, negative individuals that live in this country more than I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's time this has to stop. It's not good for any of us. We can't afford to see the glass half empty. We've got to see the glass half full. We've got a responsibility to do the best job we can. And by the way, if there is negativity in your life, if you get it at work and you've got all this stuff going on at home, when you walk through the door of the office, dump your stuff in a suitcase outside the door of the office. And when you walk into work, you got to say, I'm a money magnet. Watch me work. It's going to be a great day, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you walk in the office and say, oh God, we don't have anybody to cover our orders, you're going to prove yourself right all day. If you walk in the office and say, I'm going to be a people magnet today, I'm going to do all kinds of things to gather a ton of people, you're going to be amazed at what happens. Your self-fulfilling prophecy has to be positive, not negative. Number 14, establish a client and candidate referral program. 40% of your new clients and candidates should come from referrals. If they're not, you don't have a referral program. Right now, we get 60% of our new clients and over 50% of our candidates as a result of referrals. But we have a very strong referral program, and we've worked at it. And everybody in your office has to promote it, and they have to see the benefit to them. They have to realize they're not referring their competition. But if you don't have a referral program, owners that are on this phone, got to think about this, and how much easier would everybody's life be that works for you if 40% of your new clients and candidates were the result of referrals. And number 15, commit to a lifetime of learning. Utilize coaches and mentors to advance your career. Realize change is the only certainty in the staffing profession. Change is the only certainty. And so you've got to embrace change, because if you don't, trust me, your competition is going to run right over you. I also want to share something that I just learned about, and I'm going to share it with you because I was at another conference recently, and there was a gentleman that got up, and he was a geek. He said, I'm a total geek, and I always look for new resources that are out there online, to just get information. And he goes, I want to show you something called crystalknows.com. So it's CRYSTAL knows.com. So Crystal Knows, CRYSTAL knows.com. And so he pulled up my LinkedIn profile in front of hundreds of conference attendees, because I was in the room, because they were talking about new resources for candidates. I wanted to hear what he found. And I was like, oh my God, he's got my LinkedIn profile up. What is he going to do? Because I'm used to doing that to other people. I'm not used to someone doing that to me. And all of a sudden he said, let's see what Crystal knows about Barb or Bruno in front of 500 people. And so I'm squirming in my seat, and all of a sudden this stuff comes up, and it's like a mini disc profile, and it told people how to approach me, what I like, what I don't like, my communication style, that if you're going to work with me, don't BS. I'm pretty black and white. Don't lie to me, because I can't stand dishonesty. It said to have fun, that if you're too formal, I'm probably not going to embrace the conversation, and give me the cliff notes. Do not tell me the whole story, because I'm not going to listen. I'm just not going to do. And I sat there and looked at all this information, And I go, okay, that's creepy. It's like Crystal knows me. Like, who is Crystal? She's kind of creepy. And everybody started to laugh. And I said, but I'm so going back, and I'm so going to use this. This is a Chrome extension. And so you'd have to go to Chrome and look for the extension Crystal Knows. Now, of course, they offer that you can get a more extensive profile on people. You don't need to. It tells you just what you need to know about prospects you're calling. It's uncanny. Do it for the people in your office. I came back and I ran one on everybody that worked for me. I ran one on every one of my family members. It hit us dead on. And it's about the presence you have online. And even people that didn't have a big presence online, it was still giving them pretty succinct, descriptions of their personality type. So that's just kind of a bonus I want to give all of you before I end this call. And also, I'm telling you, if you follow these 15 steps, you're going to accomplish more, not only now, but throughout 2018. And I want you to go back and remember, you've got homework. You've got to write down those 10 goals, those 10 non-negotiable goals with 5 dated action items, and post them where you work. That's number one, what you have to do, okay? And then after that, what I want you to do is I want you to post it, and then I want you to go through this list of 15 and pick one and do one of these things every month until we meet. And by the way, I just got the news on the TempNet conference, so make sure you circle your calendars. TempNet is going to be held on September 12th through the 15th, and we're going to Philadelphia because hurricanes don't hit Philadelphia. It's going to be at the Sofitel Hotel in Philadelphia, and so I really look forward to meeting all of you in September. And what I would love nothing more is for you to come up to me and give me your success stories. I would love to hear your success stories. And I'm going to give you my personal email address. My personal email for you to share your success stories is bbruno, B-B-R-U-N-O, at goodasgoldtraining.com. And so if you do something and it works, I'd love to put you as an example next year when I'm there speaking at your conference. And so please share your success stories with me, because I would love nothing more. I would love nothing more than to show them what you implemented that worked. And I do, sincerely hope that all of you implement some of these ideas, because they will make a difference. And to keep in touch between now and then, I also write a training article every 2 weeks. On the bottom of your handout is a link to register for my No BS newsletter. The reason it's called a No BS newsletter, it's not a newsletter, it's a training article that I send every 2 weeks to about 85,000 recruiters worldwide. If you'd like to get a training article from me every 2 weeks, just go to that link and sign up, and you'll get some free training from me even before we meet in September. What I want to do now, the most important part of the call, is answer your questions. When you called in, I gave you a telephone number, an access code, and a PIN number. If you put all 3 numbers in, you can go to the attendee list, and if you're on a landline, not a cell phone, see that little hand that looks like a hand being raised? It's kind of outlined in green. If you click on that, I can unmute your lines and you and I can role play. Or if you'd like to ask me a question, you can go down on the control panel to the right. You see the word questions in that gray bar. If you type a question in, I'd be glad to answer any of your questions. And I always will use your first name. Since most of you know each other, if you don't want me to use your first name, just type confidential before you type in a question, or anonymous, and I will not use your first name. I'll just answer your question. So you can either raise your hand or you can type in a question. So let me see if any of you raised your hand. None of you want to talk to me. I'm not going to take that personal. Let's see, there's no raised hands. Okay, let me go down to the questions. And I see no questions now. Now, what I'm going to say to all of you is, this is free one-on-one consulting with me. And so if you want to get the most out of this phone call, this is my gift to you, okay? And what I want to do now is answer questions that are personal, that can help you. And so any questions you have, write them in, because you can get some one-on-one free consulting. Okay, Sarah, my first brave person, can you talk a little about the weekly matching meeting? Yes, the weekly matching meeting is basically, I have everybody in sales bring in the hottest orders that we have in-house where they need additional coverage. I also believe that the minute somebody's eliminated, if we have an interviewing process going on a contract, I want 3 people in that final interview. So anybody that's been crossed out, we're backfilling. So we want 2 to 3 people in final interviews. And so we're talking about the hottest orders and where we still need coverage. And then we have the recruiters talk about their top 3 candidates, the top 3 people they've got they feel are the most qualified people. And it's inevitable that we make matches. There's a match to the orders we've got with the people they bring and they're not even seeing it. Or my sales team will say, I want to take that person out on the field with me next week. I want to market that person because that person is the absolute person that I want to go to. Okay, this is from Teresa. What are the first steps to take with the person who is the weakest link on your team? You're only as strong as the weakest person that works for you. And so I always tell owners, if you're thinking about should I fire somebody, it's usually not should you, it's when you're going to get up the guts to do it. If you've got somebody, as owners, you've got to spend most of your time with your high achievers, making sure that you're challenging them and giving them the best business to work in that because they're the ones that need to be rewarded. If somebody is very weak, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on probation with a plan of action and I'm going to micromanage them. So I'm going to say that these are the goals we set. This is where you're at. Here's a plan of action. And at the end of every day, I'm going to sit down and meet with you and let's make this happen. And one of two things will either happen. Either the person will turn around or they'll quit. Because if they realize you're going to give your time, and you may not like to micromanage, but if you want to save this person, you have no alternative but to work very closely with them. And you can't put somebody on probation and just say you have to improve. You've got to give them a plan of action. Exactly what do they have to do to turn it around? Because they don't know. If they knew, they'd be doing it. So you've got to give them a specific plan of action, micromanage them, and one of two things happen. Either they turn around or they end up quitting. Let's see here. I'm a little late. Will the webinar be available for replay? Yes, as a matter of fact, I am recording this, and I don't know that I volunteered to do that, but if you guys want the replay, I'll have my team put this on YouTube if we can do that, and then we'll send you a link. So you'll have the replay of the link, and so I'll be glad to do that. Kara, we're struggling with the referral program that will stick. Can you explain how your program works for clients and candidates? The problem is, Kara, we've got a very extensive referral program that is very in-depth. I mean, for me to try to do it, maybe that's something I'll do at your next conference, is really talk about a referral program, but I can tell you that we donate to the favorite charity for our clients. That's how we reward the clients that give us referrals. And we really track our referrals. We put a theme around it. We have set times that we ask for them. So it just has to be a process, and somebody has to be in charge of it. We do have a training program called the Top Producer Tutor, Carol. We teach all of our training clients how to do this. But again, maybe this is something I could do at your next conference, or if you want to look into any of the training we do, or if you call my office, maybe we can arrange some one-on-one training with you. But it's not as easy as just giving you a simple answer. You've got to reward people for referrals, and you have to have a step-by-step repeatable process that you continually increase. Confidential, I'm rebooting a company, feeling like starting from scratch. Where do you recommend starting when you don't have a good historical data to determine a book of best business? What I would do is I would pick 6 titles I'm going to place, just 6. And I would interview 10 candidates in each of the 6 titles, okay? So pick 6 titles you're going to place, interview 10 candidates. And as you're interviewing the candidates, you're getting all the client leads. You're asking them the 5 companies they want to work for and why. You're going to go to those companies and try to land them as clients. And you're going to market that candidate to those clients, saying, I'd normally be calling my best client. Let me tell you why I'm calling you. And you tell them how this person wanted to work for them and give them why. When you ask candidates, where do you want to work, you got to ask why. Where would you never work and why? Because the why is the important thing. Check references on the candidates you're going to interview. Because if you interview 60 candidates, okay, you're going to get 50 job leads if you do it right. And you're going to call, in every place they used to work for, they hire, temporaries or contractors because this person worked there. And so you call those past companies and say, I interviewed someone who used to work for you. After I learned this about your company, I had to pick up the phone and call you. I represent the best talent. I want to represent the best companies. And after I learned this about your company, I've got to represent you. And so, so I would say pick 6 titles, interview 10 people in each title. Use the candidates to tell you where they want to work, where they will never work. Call their past employers, and you've got inside information. So you're not making cold marketing calls. You're calling with inside information of a past employee. Also, if you've got, let me give you another hint, all of you. If you want to double or triple your candidate flow, I'm going to give you a tip. Write this down. Call the past 2 or 3 employers of every good candidate you have and ask for them. And who are you going to get? You're going to get their replacement who has the exact same skill sets. So just by calling past places of employment and asking for them, and if they say they're not there, can I talk to their replacement? Maybe they kept in touch. That replacement has the same skill sets. How much to help recruiters set their annual goals? I don't really help my recruiters set their annual goals. I ask them what they want to earn next year, and then I show them what they have to do to earn that money and ask them if they're willing to pay the price. And so get their income goal and show them exactly what they have to do based on their numbers. If you don't have stats and ratios, though, it's next to impossible, Matt, to give them exactly what they need to do. So really track their numbers this last quarter so that you can give them exactly what they need to do, because everybody wants to earn more money. But, I've got people that say, I won't work after 5 o'clock. Well, this is not an 8 to 5 job, is it? Some candidates can't talk during the day. When we work overtime, we're at home. We can work off of our smartphone. I cringe every time I have people say, I won't work after 5. Well, then you're going to be average. Then just realize you're going to be average. You're never going to be a high achiever, because we have to talk to people when they can talk to us. And we've got to be available when they're available. So, they've got to be willing to pay the price. And also, once you get your people to write down their 10 non-negotiable goals, that tells you where their financial thermostat is. If they're not aiming high enough, some people hire ducks and they want them to be eagles. Some people don't want to be an eagle, and eagles can be pretty obnoxious at times. So, you've got to find out where their financial thermostat is. For a commercial staffing firm, clerical 20% and industrial 80%, what are production averages for staffing specialists, number of interviews and placements? That's an impossible question for me to answer, Tim. And the reason that's impossible for me to answer is because it depends on the skill sets of the people that are working for you. There's not production averages across the board, because how long does a person work for you? How many established accounts do you have? Are you working with VMS? Because the VMS numbers are ridiculously high as compared to the low stats when you have direct contact with hiring authorities. I was at a technology conference recently, and with VMS, they're placing, with no contact with the hiring authority, they're placing 3 out of every 100 resumes they submit. So there's too many variables for you to do this. And it's not important that you know production averages nationwide or whatever. Call TempNet. TempNet can tell you averages for your members, which would be a good yardstick for you, because many of you do the same thing. You've got to compare apples with apples, and so you need to do that. Do you provide training for industrial and customer service staffing for recruiters? Yes, we've got all kinds of training. We do training for everybody, from the owners, managers, recruiters, coordinators. We've got training for just about everybody that works in the staffing and recruiting profession. Sorry, how much help do you give your recruiters when setting goals? Again, if they come to me, I'm going to give them as much help as they need. I want them to realize exactly what they're doing, and see what we do at the end of every year. And this would be great for you to do when they give you your 10 non-negotiable goals. Ask them to write down the number they want to earn next year. And then when you're reviewing them, or you see somebody slipping next year, say that they have a bad January. You say to them, I know you want to earn this amount next year. I'm not going to let you give up your dreams in January. Let's take what you didn't do in January, divide it by 11, add it to the next 11 months. You can still do this. As owners and managers, we've got to be the cheerleaders, but that motivation, that burning desire has to come from within. And this is a really stupid example, but I got home last night for a trip, and I turned on the TV just because I do that when I've been traveling. And Dancing with the Stars was on last night, and I haven't been watching that. But I saw a story about a girl that was crippled and in a wheelchair most of her life. And they told her she wouldn't talk, and she wouldn't live, and she wouldn't walk, and she wouldn't whatever. And she's on Dancing with the Stars. And it's interesting because when somebody tells you what you can't do, you just need to say, watch me. But you have to have that drive and desire, and so do your people. This is from Kevin Cole. We use Top Producer Tutor and utilize Barb's training for light industrial, admin, and medical. Well, thanks, Kevin. So if you want to know what my training is like, everybody can call Kevin. No, I don't mean that. If you've got any questions about anything we do, this is the phone number to my office. It's 219-663-9609. I'm going to repeat that number, and I'm going to give you a name. Ask for Jody, because I have back-to-back calls after this. But Jody is my VP of sales. She was one of my top producers. She now helps on the training side. And so the number again, if you've got any questions about the career portal, anything we do, the number is 219-663-9609 and ask for Jody, Jodi, and she can answer any questions you guys have. I'm getting a bunch of thank yous now, which I greatly appreciate. I have to say something else to you. Do you know that nobody hung up? I have never trained for a group and not have had somebody hang up halfway through the call or before the call was over, which, boy, does that say something about all of you. I want you to give yourself a pat on the back because I know this was an unscheduled call. Many of you don't know me. You had no idea what this was going to be about. But I love TempNet. I don't know if you know that. I really respect your organization. I was so disappointed when that conference was canceled for a lot of reasons, but mostly because I really enjoy training your group. But I have to tell you something. It really tells me something about all of you that you've hung in here with me, and we're all pretty ADHD, and you've been with me almost an hour. And I greatly appreciate that. You have no idea. And so I really appreciate you all being here. I have one more question from Julie. What is your thought about realigning our focus from client sales to candidate recruitment, referral partner sources? Consider this rather than traditional outside sales. So let me get this again. What are your thoughts about realigning our focus from client sales to candidate recruitment, referral partner sources? I think you've got to do both, Julie. I think that you should be getting most of your sales from your recruiting team. You've got to bonus that to get your recruiters to have their antenna out to give leads to your sales team. But I still think an outside sales team is very effective when they know your best business, when they're not bringing in purple squirrels, when they are marketing your best candidates, when they understand the business they're going after, and they go out there with inside information so they don't feel like they're making cold calls. And they've got to have different things to say every time. It's people, what I'm hearing from a lot of the clients is that we all sound alike. And I'm going to leave you guys with all of this. If you called me and you wanted my business and I'm your exact client or I'm your exact candidate that you're trying to recruit, why should I use you as opposed to any other TempNet member? Can you guys answer that and don't give me something that anybody else can say? If you say we specialize, we've got the best candidates, we've got this, we check references, we do that, clients and candidates hate that because that's what you're being paid to do. What is your track record? What do you bring to the table? Why should I use you? You got to know that because if you don't know that, I'm not going to take time to figure out. So I think, Julie, a combination of both is the ideal situation. A combination of both. All right, everybody, I've taken up an hour of your time, and please circle that calendar, September 12th to the 15th, Sofitel Hotel. I will be there. I want to meet each and every one of you in Philly. And your homework before Monday, anybody that's serious about a record 2018, 10 non-negotiable goals in all areas of your life, 5 dated action items. When you finish the action item, you've attained the goal. It's not easy, but it can change your life. So thank you, everybody, and I thank you, Mary, and everybody at TempNet for allowing me to bring this webinar to all of you, and I can't wait to hear your success stories. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.